So we have cable testers. With all the cable you have, somebody needs to check to see that it all works, right? You imagine there's, a shop that has boxes and boxes of these cables that Broadway uses, all these theater company uses, productions, touring shows. They get it from a rental house. So the intern or somebody at the warehouse has to check it all, right? So with that, there's a couple devices. Most basic, right? Edison connector. Let's see if this still works. Yeah, kind of see it. The light's turned on. And on this one, there's a key to show you that everything's good. Let's see, I made this homemade one a while back. Yeah, so that still works. So if this is wired correctly, this will light up inside. Made this other one using that same tester. This for that stage pin cable. I don't have a way of testing it here, but same concept. Yeah. Another device. We have a couple of these at CityTech, but this is for testing, XLR, SpeakOn, PowerCon, Ethernet, USB. So as you can see, there's the female side, and then on this side there's the male side, right? The opposite end of the cable, and then using this dial, you'd be able to check all the pins individually. Another common device, voltage meter. This one also has a amp feature to check the amperage of cable, but that's a separate class. So for this, you'd really only need to do continuity, right? So if I was to take right, so now I know my pins are in line. Yep. Yep. Yeah. So now I know the cable's good. Right. For a particular cable like that, DMX, SpeakOn, XLR, it's always better to use these testers because they're hardwired. With these, there's like a little bit of operator error. And you could only use this if you know which pin is which, right? So if you just keep, touching different pins until, this goes off, eventually something's going to go off. But you need to make sure everything's in the right order as well as, connected. So those are testers. I have some samples of connectors here at the shop. Right, it's a female Edison connector, pretty standard. It's a male Edison. This one's pretty clever the way it goes together. This one needs a screwdriver. But as you can imagine, right, you would take this spare wire, match it up to the corresponding spots on this connector, tighten it all up, close it up, and now you got a full cable. So I also have some XLR connectors here. With the Edison ones, typically you just use a screwdriver to assemble all this together. With the XLR cables and these fancier sound cables, you really need like a soldering iron to do all this. So you can see that these little bullet shaped things. So you put the cable in there, solder it up, let it cool down, and then pop it back in. Right. Make sure you got all the components. And I'm pretty sure you guys may or not do this in your electricity lab class, but that's kind of how this one is. I don't have one with me, but with this one, you don't use a screwdriver or a soldering iron. You use a tool called a crimper. So you feed all these cables in to those little slots. Kind of see those like copper colored slots at the top. You feed all the cable in, and then you use a crimper to smash it all in. And then from there you got to test it. 9 times out of 10 it's totally wrong because these things are so precise. So yeah, practice with those. I know I'm definitely not good at these at all, but I could do it if my life depended on it. So yeah, testers, connectors. Some cables just aren't worth replacing because they're so readily available. It's just easier to buy a new cable if you really needed it. Usually short ones. Longer ones, you know, you're better off just like cutting off a little bit, replacing the one connector, and then you still got a pretty decent sized cable left. For short cables though, I would just throw it away. Because then it gets too short and then people lose track of how short it really is, and then it's like useless.